This is a story about a world where mutants with special hearts exist. A tiny fraction of humans who carry these unique cores are known as heart mutants with extraordinary abilities, and the power they awaken depends entirely on the type of heart they possess. Our main guy is one of those mutants, but unlike the rest, he is a special case because the core inside his body is the heart of resurrection, meaning no matter how many times he dies, he will always come back to life. But despite possessing such a rare ability, his story isn't a happy one, because he spent his entire life locked up in a lab, being experimented on day after day by deranged researchers who wanted to steal his power for themselves. But one day during one of his experiments, he managed to escape from his room, and using the knowledge he gathered while being trapped in this hell, he made his way to the control room to cut down the power to the whole facility. But in the middle of doing so, he got jumped by two guards who managed to catch him right as he was about to shut everything down. But he refused to be taken back to that dark cell to be gutted like a fish. Instead of letting them drag him away again, he chose death on his own terms and electrocuted himself, taking the two men who tried to stop him along with him. By the time it was all over, the entire place had crumbled into rubble, with the only one left standing there being him. The story cuts to another place, and we are shown an individual rummaging through the garbage trying to find anything to eat, while thinking about how people with these special hearts are seen as a blessing from God. But to them, it was all bull because their life turned into hell the day his heart mutated. This is our boy, or at least what's left of him after that explosion, and he is on the run from those people who are still trying to track him down, which means he has to search for food like a raccoon, since he has nowhere to live and no family to help him. Lucky for him, he managed to spot a piece of bread which didn't look half bad, so he dug right in to fill up his non-existing stomach. That was when he spotted a dog wagging his tail beside him. And this kind little soul, despite being hungry for days, offered the remaining bread to the dog, but from the looks of it, the thing was more focused on his bony fingers rather than that bread. Cut a couple of minutes, and while playing with some stray animals, he heard some noises coming not far from them. Fearing it could be the institution that was after him, he got up to check what was going on and spotted a female who was clearly being forced to do something against her will. The woman tried to warn the three men, but no matter what she said, the fools refused to back down without getting a little taste. Our boy himself was eyeing something delicious, and that something was that bag of dog food in her hands, which clearly meant she had come to feed the stray dogs around here and ended up getting stuck in this mess. Unable to take it anymore, our hero stepped out and warned the three lunatics to leave the women alone. Obviously, the fools did the exact opposite, and thinking he was just some homeless guy trying to act hero, they prepared to take care of him first before going for the girl. That was when they pulled off the cloth covering his face, and both of them froze at the sight before them. Terrified, the blonde fool immediately jumped back to get away from our boy. Our hero himself snapped off one of his ribs and, using it as a weapon, warned the three men to get lost before he made them regret it. The men were so terrified that they didn't even bother listening to the whole thing and started bolting in the opposite direction. The girl tried to thank the walking pile of bones, but she was so terrified that she dropped to the ground, and seeing his hand reaching out to her, she closed her eyes, thinking this was her end. And when she opened them once more, she saw the man sitting on the floor, munching on the dog food. Obviously, that caught her off guard, because why would anyone eat something so disgusting? Watching the expression on her face, our hero apologized to the girl for scaring her earlier, and somehow, hearing him talk made things even worse, and she started running from the place to get away from him. Our hero, though, didn't even bother paying attention to her reaction because he was pretty much used to it by now. At least he could eat the dog food in peace, so it wasn't that bad. As for the girl, she kept observing him from a distance while trying to understand what that creature was. On top of that, from the looks of things, it didn't seem like the creature wanted to harm her in any way, and that got her wondering if that thing could actually be a human being who possesses a mutated heart. According to her knowledge, these individuals possess all sorts of abilities. With that realization, she started feeling bad because all that man did was save her, but she ended up acting so rudely instead of thanking him. So, to make up for acting like a complete moron, she walked back to our hero, and as an apology, she brought out a sandwich from her backpack and offered it to our boy. This simple gesture surprised our hero because this was the first time in his life someone had offered him something, so with shaky hands he reached for the thing while thanking the girl. Seeing him staring at the thing, she apologized to our hero for acting rudely towards him earlier, but our boy told her it was fine, that reaction was to be expected considering how he looked. As soon as he took one bite of the thing, our boy was in heaven because he never tasted something so delicious in his entire life, so much so that his tongue almost went numb from the flavor. Turning towards the girl, he muttered that he could die without regrets after tasting this, all thanks to this angel before him. The girl snapped him out of that trance and asked if he has a name or should she give him one. Our boy introduced himself as Kim Jio. With a smile, the girl thanked Kim Jio for saving her from those scumbags and introduced herself as Song Haiji. With introductions out of the way, she asked what was he doing in a dump like this, and our boy, not even fearing the consequences, answered he was on the run from an organization called the Institute. Hearing that he was being chased by some organization obviously scared the girl because she was putting herself in danger by involving herself with him. Our boy explained it was a secret organization that kidnaps heart mutants like him to experiment on them, and he was one of their test subjects who managed to escape and was on the run ever since. Scared, the girl asked what kinds of experiments those people did on him for him to end up in such a state. That was an interesting question, and our hero didn't know where to start. So in the end, he decided to tell her everything. 10 years ago, he was dragged into that place, and ever since that day, those people had been putting him through one torture and experiment after another. For one, they forced him to drink every poison imaginable, saying they were testing new drugs. They sliced him open and messed with his organs, saying they were checking transplant compatibility and many more things. Just hearing what the kid had to go through for 10 years made her face go pale, so she asked the reason. Although that was a dumb question, our hero told the girl it was because he possesses the heart of resurrection, and they wanted to claim that power for themselves. So long story short, after being torn apart and put back together more times than he could count, he ended up in this hideous state. Although he had no face on that skull, the girl could sense the pain behind his words, and now that she knew everything, she decided to help him out as much as she could. With that in mind, she took his hand and started running out of the place. Our boy tried asking where she was taking him, but instead of answering, the girl told him it would only take a moment. Feeling a woman's touch for the first time in 10 years, our fool was actually blushing, already imagining his entire future with this 10 out of 10 beauty. But his little fantasy was cut short when his arm suddenly slipped out of its socket, and that scared the girl senseless, and she started screaming, watching the thing in her hand. Terrified, she started panicking and apologizing over and over, asking our hero what to do. Our boy assured the girl not to worry because that wasn't a big deal. Next panel, and his arm was back in its place as he explained to the girl he can stick his limbs back as long as they weren't damaged too much. But since the girl wouldn't stop freaking out, he changed topics and asked where was she planning on taking him. Cut a couple of minutes, and our boy was seen standing in confusion with new clothes covering his body. As for the girl, she was all giggly and smiley as she showed our hero some other stuff she got for him. She apologized to our boy since this stuff was cheap, but she was sure they should be fine to wear for a while. Our hero didn't know how he was supposed to thank this girl for everything she did for him, so he bowed his head, telling her this was more than enough. But the girl was far from done. Now it was time to fix that rotting mug of his by applying some good old makeup. And the reason she was using makeup instead of a mask was because our boy had no ears, so according to her, using a mask was useless because it would fall right off. So, this makeup was perfect. With that, she was done, and honestly, she did a pretty good job, all things considered. But to her, this was still not perfect, so she apologized to our hero, saying this was her first time applying makeup on a skull, to which our hero assured the girl she had already done more than enough. Noticing his stare, she wondered why he was looking at her chest like that, but she quickly brushed it off when she saw the time and realized she was already late. So she turned around and prepared to head out while thanking our hero for saving her from those thugs. And just before running out, she shouted for him to take good care of those dogs for her. After he was gone, our boy dropped to the ground, his little heart pounding as he wondered if she was going to come visit him tomorrow. That was when he recalled his memories from that cursed place and the people who put him through all that torture, also the ones he ran into while escaping, who treated him like a monster. But this girl wasn't like any of those people and was the only one who treated him like a person despite his appearance. And it was all thanks to his doggy friends, because if it weren't for them, he would have left this place a while ago and wouldn't have met Haiji. So as a thank you, he decided to give him a name, and not even 1 minute into thinking, he came up with the perfect name. Potato, which the dog seemed to love. With that out of the way, he told Potato the food Haiji gave him earlier was very delicious, and he wondered if that girl could really be an angel in human form, which was why he was looking forward to tomorrow to see if she would come visit him again. But then he paused as the realization hit him. He was a walking pile of bones. A man on the run being hunted down by a secret organization that wanted him back at any cost, meaning whoever gets close to him would be dragged into this mess too. And since he did not want that girl to get dragged into his problems, he started walking away from the place, afraid of what might happen if anyone saw the two of them together. Fast forward to the next day in another part of the city, and inside the sewers, our boy was seen fast asleep surrounded by trash. Just then he felt something crawling inside his body and he sprang up in shock. Turns out last night he was so overwhelmed that he kept wandering around and ended up collapsing in this place because of exhaustion. Hearing his stomach grumbling, he reached into his hoodie and brought out some of that dog food that he stored up just in case. But after tasting that delicious sandwich yesterday, he wasn't sure he could go back to eating this kind of stuff again. So in the end, he just imagined Haiji handing him another one of those tasty sandwiches and started munching on the biscuits. Just then he heard some strange noises to the side, so he turned to see what it was, but before he could, Potato had already struck, and he snatched all those biscuits from his hand, leaving our boy in shock. Furious, he asked Potato how can he do something like that to him because he didn't even leave him a single piece. But then he froze for a second because it made no sense. He was pretty sure he left Potato back in that alleyway, so how was he here in front of him? But then it hit him and he realized what Potato being in front of him right now meant. Sure enough, he heard a familiar voice calling out to him, and when he looked up, he saw Haiji standing there all sweaty and tired, and she did not look happy about him leaving without saying anything. As for our boy watching the girl panting, he was just glad he did not have any skin on his face. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hide how happy he was seeing her face again. Cut a couple of minutes, and Wifey was scolding our hero for running off, since they had been worried sick and had been wandering all over the city looking for him. Our boy apologized, explaining his reason because he didn't want it to drag her into his mess. Man, damn, look at that killer smile she gave after hearing our hero was worried about her. And seeing him so happy, she was just glad they managed to find him because at the end of the day, that's all that mattered. Changing topics, she showed our hero all the tasty treats she got for him today. And since our hero had no clue how to eat most of the things, she decided to teach him. After pouring some milk on the cookies, she asked our hero to give it a try. Staring at the thing, our boy could only wonder how this was going to taste and if it could even be better than that sandwich she shared with him yesterday. And then it happened. As soon as he took one bite, tears started rolling down his eye sockets. Seeing him actually tearing up from the taste of that thing, the girl couldn't help but giggle a little because he was being too cute right now. Just then, as they were doing that, our hero noticed his arm slowly starting to regenerate. This also surprised the girl because this was the first time she was seeing something like this. Curious, she asked how long it takes for his body to regenerate completely. Our boy answered, saying it usually takes a couple of years, which obviously shocked the girl because that was way too long. Our hero explained that was how long it would take if he continued eating regular food. She asked what the faster way was. Well, it was not an answer she was going to like because to fully regenerate he would require a large amount of blood, but knowing that would only freak her out, he decided not to tell her that. Instead, he came up with an excuse that the method was only possible back at the research facility where he was being experimented on. Curious, she asked if those people actually used to heal him back there. The answer was yes. After all, they needed to keep him in proper condition to continue their experiments. He explained to those people he was special, something they could never afford to let go of, which was also the reason he was trying to distance himself from her because he was sure those people were still out there somewhere looking for him, and her getting involved with him would only end up badly for both of them, which was why he was asking her to stop trying to help him so much. Yeah, no, that only fired up the stubborn little girl even more, and she got ready to take him to the police station to report everything that had happened to him. Our boy answered he already tried that and it did not work out. Those people thought he was a monster, and he almost ended up getting shot. Haiji assured the kid no one was going to lay a hand on him while she was around because her older sister is a police officer, and she was sure if there was anyone who could help him out of this situation, it was her. And the reason she was so confident was because her sister was also a heart mutant just like him. Those words actually brought him some hope. But still, he also knew how dangerous those people were, and he was sure if they found out the two sisters were giving him shelter, they won't hesitate to go after them as well. Haiji, however, assured our hero nothing bad was going to happen to him and asked him to trust her just this once. Cut to a few minutes later, she was saying farewell to the dogs for the day while instructing them to be good boys while she went to the police station. Our boy also patted Potato, thanking him for all the time he spent protecting him while he was living here, and promised the dog as soon as he is done doing what needs to be done, he was going to come back for him. With that, both of them started walking out of the place, and that is when a massive shock was revealed. Our boy had been on the run for the past 3 years. Yeah, that blast that blew away that building, it happened 3 years ago, and somehow he had managed to stay under the radar for all this time. And now that he finally found someone who genuinely wanted to protect him, he refused to hide like a coward anymore. As all that was going through his head, he spotted a black van that was speeding towards him, and then bam, the whole world froze. From Haiji's side, the only thing she saw was our hero being thrown through the air as the van slammed directly into him. As a result, he landed right on his head, causing him to lose all strength in his body, leaving him unable to move. And then he saw the one thing he was fearing the most. Those bastards went for the girl as the bald bastard shouted for his men to catch that guy while he takes care of this woman. On his command, an army of goons stepped out of multiple cars, and before our boy knew it, he was completely restrained. Looking up, he saw a man walking toward him, and that ugly, thick-lipped brute, built like a walking slab of meat, was one of the main guys responsible for the 10 years of suffering our hero had gone through. And now that he finally managed to find him again, he was fully ready to make him pay for all the damages he had done. Fast forward, and those vans were seen speeding toward their destination. As for our hero, he wasn't in any of those vehicles because those bastards had tied him up behind one of the cars and were dragging him the whole way with his body smashing through everything in the road. But despite everything, our hero was more worried about Haiji since those guys had also kidnapped her, and he refused to let those bastards take her because he knew exactly what they were planning to do to her. Cut to one of the cars where 2 of those goons had restrained our girl and were shouting at the driver to go faster. As for our boy, no matter how hard he tried, this broken body of his just wasn't strong enough to stop these people. And at that moment, as he was wishing someone would appear and at least save Haiji, he spotted something unexpected. It was all his dog friends who came to rescue both of them and were chomping on that rope to free our boy, especially Potato, who, despite being dragged along the road, refused to release the rope, and because of that, he managed to tear the thing in 2. As soon as that happened, the car slammed the brakes to see what was going on. And when those people stepped out of the vehicle, they saw our hero shivering in the middle of the street because of the pain, as a bunch of stray dogs gathered around him to protect him. Thinking not much of it, they got ready to beat all the animals to the ground and drag our boy back by force. Our boy also knew these dogs won't stand a chance against these people, so he tried getting back up to help them, but his body refused to move. As for those bastards, they didn't even hesitate and started hitting the animals with their weapons. Refusing to give up, he started dragging himself toward the men to save the dogs, but once again his body barely responded. That was when he spotted Potato, who had managed to sink his teeth into the leg of one of the men, and he remembered if he could somehow absorb a little bit of that blood, he might be able to recover enough strength to save everyone. With that in mind, he started dragging himself toward the puddle of red liquid near him, but before he could reach it, he heard the man screaming, followed by a stream of red liquid spilling everywhere, and then it happened. He saw Potato's motionless body drop right in front of him. The moment his eyes landed on him, his whole world froze. Not just Potato. When he looked around, he saw all his friends who stuck with him all these years when the world turned its back on him, lying motionless around him, with those bastards not even sparing their lifeless bodies and kept on smashing them with their weapons. Memories of those times started flashing before him, how these people made him suffer in that hell for all that time. His mourning started with them pumping blood into his body to keep him alive, just so they could put him through more inhuman and cruel experiments. Day after day, it was the same thing. He wasn't even allowed the relief of death, no matter how much he wished for it, until the day he finally managed to escape. Back then, he thought that once he got out of this place, his life would finally change, but the reality was different. Everyone who came across him saw him as a monster, all of them wanting to get rid of him. In the end, nothing changed for him. He was still alone, with everyone around him treating him like a freak who needed to be eliminated. That was until he met all of the dogs in Haiji, the only ones who treated him like a human and not a monster. Recalling all those memories, something within him shifted, and all that pain made his heart react in a way he never felt before. And somehow, as all that was going through his mind, the blood of all those dogs started flying at him on its own, and before everyone's eyes, his whole body got engulfed in a tornado of that red liquid, causing his limbs to start regenerating, and within seconds, he was whole again. This even shocked our hero, because this was the first time in his life he saw his body reacting in such a way. On top of that, he couldn't remember the last time he saw his own skin, and it reminded him of his childhood, when his body actually used to feel alive. As he was staring at himself and the bodies of the ones who sacrificed themselves to pass him their strength, because this was the only chance they had of saving the girl. The fools were panicking, asking their boss what they should do now that the boy was back to 100%. The answer was simple. They stick to the plan, smash his head in, and drag him back to their base. Before he had the chance to swing that thing, a fist landed in the middle of the fool's face, causing his whole mouth to cave in. And yeah, it was our boy who wasn't himself anymore. As for the guy, the dude literally turned into a projectile, flying through the air and crashing into the van, and from the looks of it, he won't be getting back up anymore. Our boy, however, picked up Potato and gave him one final hug while thanking the loyal companion for everything he did for him, and promised he wasn't going to let his sacrifice go to waste. He was going to find those people and save Haiji no matter what. Cut to some other part of the city where a bunch of black cars were seen parked outside the building. On the inside was our Haiji, who finally managed to get rid of the suffocating mask that was covering her face. But as she turned to scan her surroundings, she saw a bunch of ugly men standing next to her. But that wasn't the thing that had the girl so terrified. The thing that scared her more was what was going on in a corner. These people were literally in the middle of cutting organs out of victims so they could sell them to willing buyers. Turns out she was also in line for that procedure, but before that, these people were planning on having a little fun with her to vent their pent-up frustrations. Showing her the picture of our hero, the man told the girl if she wants to blame someone, blame him, since the reason she was in this mess was because she got involved with this skeleton guy. After he finished making himself clear, he warned the girl to keep her mouth shut and not make any noise around there because he hated disturbances. Otherwise, he warned she would be lying on that stretcher in no time. While threatening the girl, he suddenly heard his phone ringing. Picking up, he asked his men what was taking them so long to bring that kid. The person on the other end told him the whole story of how a bunch of dogs appeared to save that kid, and after they took them out, that skeleton turned into a person. The boss still had no clue what the man was rambling about, so he told him to clarify what was going on. Yeah, he didn't like the answer. Our boy managed to escape from them, and now they had no idea where he was. Furious, he shouted for the man to find that skeleton no matter what it takes, otherwise he was dead, and slammed the phone in frustration. He quickly turned to our girl and started screaming, demanding she tell him where that guy could have gone, but our girl had no idea herself. The guy refused to believe her words and started shouting, asking if she even knew what that thing was worth, and demanded she tell him the truth. But the answer was the same. She had no idea where he could have run to. The fool, burning with rage, brought out a knife and threatened the girl. If she didn't start talking right away, he was going to carve a bunch of new holes in her. Watching the cold steel of that blade being pointed at her face, Haiji started trembling, unsure of what to do anymore. After all, our boy did warn her not to involve herself with him, but she never listened. Just as she was about to admit she might have made a mistake helping our boy, something shot past them at incredible speed, and when they looked back, they saw it was one of the goons. Seeing that it was their men, everyone in the room got on their guard and turned to see who was responsible. That's when they spotted a lone kid standing at the entrance of the building, and none of them recognized that it was the same skeleton kid they had been searching for. Just then, one cocky fool started walking up to our boy, trying to act all intimidating. But just as he was about to say something, our boy grabbed him by his throat and started choking his neck. The man tried freeing himself, but it was already too late for that, as a cracking sound was heard echoing through the whole building. Just as that happened, the rest of the goons started running at our boy to end him. One of them actually managed to land a punch on our boy's face, but wait folks, our boy pulled a counter move on the fool, because the moment that punch connected, he fired back with a fist of his own straight into the man's face. And all that happened so fast that the guy didn't even get the chance to process it. Using the chance, the one with the stupid hat sneaked up on our hero and managed to restrain him, and at the same time, the second goon delivered a powerful knee to our boy's face. But despite taking such a brutal hit to the head, our boy remained conscious. Not just conscious, using the momentum, he headbutted the guy so hard that he straight up got buried into the ground. Seeing the power this kid possessed, the rest of the goons were left speechless, with neither of them having the guts to approach him anymore. Our boy, on the other hand, wasn't planning on letting them walk out of this place after everything that happened. Seeing him making that face, Haiji herself froze for a second because she recognized the man standing before her as our boy. But you know how sometimes women open their mouths at the worst possible time? Yeah, this was one of those times. Because as soon as the fool heard those words coming out of her mouth, he immediately took her hostage, realizing the one standing before him was the skeleton kid. Next panel, boom, a gunshot was heard echoing through the place. As for the one responsible, he thanked the kid for making things easier for them, but still he wasn't a fool and knew it would take a lot more than that to stop that kid. So he shouted for his men to bring out every gun they had to put that kid down. The men did as told and started firing non-stop at our boy's body to drain him of his blood and stop his regeneration. As all that was going on, our boy was just trying to keep himself awake, but the pain was just unbearable. He was able to feel his flesh being ripped apart, almost all the bones in his body were broken, and he was having a hard time breathing because his lungs had been punctured, and because of that, his body gave out and he fell to the ground. Seeing him lying there, the girl started screaming, begging the men to stop. Hearing her voice, that same feeling started returning back to our boy, and his hand started reaching for the blood surrounding the room on its own. And no, this wasn't his own blood which he just lost, but of the people these bastards butchered not too long ago for their organs. As soon as that blood entered his body, his heart activated once more and his regeneration kicked into overdrive. Seeing the sight, one of the goons shouted for his boss, who was already celebrating his victory. Turning back, all of them saw our boy slowly getting back to his feet as all that blood entered into his body through those gunshot wounds. Realizing they were screwed, the fool shouted for his men to snap out of it and start shooting at the freak before he regains his power. The men obeyed and started blasting our boy with bullets. But this time, something was different. Even though he could feel every single projectile tearing through his body, his regeneration was working just as fast, forcing him to experience those bullets ripping through him over and over again. But even so, for some reason, it was hurting less than he had thought, and the reason was the hell he had to go through for 10 years straight. Those relentless torture experiments these people put him through increased his pain tolerance, and thanks to that, wounds like these didn't do jack to him. Back in the present, our boy was gritting his teeth like a madman, and in front of him was a guy whose face he just smashed in with his fist, causing the fool to be turned into a missile that went flying through the air. Before the rest of them had the chance to reload their guns, our boy was already at striking range, and just like that, boom, his fist landed on the next goon, causing his wrist to shatter into pieces, and he went flying through the air and crashed into nearby barrels. As the two fools were distracted with that, our boy had already taken out his next victim. Not stopping there, he went after the rest of the goons, taking out all of them with one hit. And while doing so, he could only think of Potato and the other dogs who gave up their lives just so he could have a chance to save himself. That was when another bullet came flying and struck him straight in his face. But despite that, he refused to stop and turned his attention towards the last remaining fool in the room, who was still using the girl as leverage to threaten our boy to stop. But by then, our hero was too far gone, and not even caring about anything, he decked the guy right on his face, sending him crashing into a massive metal container and causing it to dent from the impact. Even after receiving such a powerful blow, the man was somehow still conscious. Yeah, not like it was a good thing for him. Seeing our boy walking up to him, his whole tough guy act fell apart and he started squealing like a bitch, begging our boy to spare his life. But it was already too late for that. Next panel, smack! A thunderous fist landed right in the middle of the fool's face. But even that wasn't enough to end this freak, so another fist came crashing down and then another, each one shaking the whole building. And then our boy started bombarding the fool with non-stop attacks to finish the job. Fast forward a couple of minutes and the whole place had finally quieted down. And I seriously hope this guy is deleted and not just unconscious. As for the rest of them, seems like none of them would be getting back up anytime soon. After taking care of the goons, our boy turned his attention toward the girl, and that expression on his face scared her a little. Our boy, on the other hand, ignoring her fear, started walking up to the girl. Trembling, the girl asked if he was alright, because clearly he didn't seem like himself right now. But to her shock, the kid actually wrapped his arms around her, and she heard him crying. Turns out he was afraid he might have been too late and was thankful she was still alive. That part surprised the girl. Our boy, though, wasn't done speaking. He told her about all the dogs who sacrificed themselves to save them both, so he thanked the girl for being alive because he was afraid of being left alone all over again just like before. After listening to everything, the girl told the kid not to thank her because she never did anything. Instead, she thanked him for not giving up on her. Next chapter, and the whole place was being swarmed by cops. And damn it, that soft-hearted fool didn't end this guy even after seeing what this guy was doing to people in this place. Well, anyways, according to the story, this was an internal gang dispute that went violent, and all of them ended in this state after fighting among themselves. Cut to the outside, and both of them were quietly watching the whole thing from a distance. Our boy asked the girl if it was really okay not to report to the cops about everything that they saw here. Haiji answered, saying this was her sister's idea, who instructed both of them to stay out of this mess because she wanted to keep his identity a secret until they get to the bottom of this whole mess, and suggested they head back before someone spots them. Fast forward, and Haiji was seen crying her eyes out, and the reason was all the dogs who sacrificed themselves for the two of them. Taking Potato in her arms, she blamed herself for everything, because all this happened because they wanted to protect her. And that made her feel even worse, because all she did was give them a bit of food and warmth, and they gave up their lives to repay her for something so small. But our boy shouted for her not to blame herself, because none of this was her fault. All of them died because they wanted to give him their blood, because he wasn't strong enough to save her. Watching the lunatic bite off his own finger, the girl shouted for him to stop and asked what he was doing. Our boy answered, saying his blood was special, that it allowed him to regenerate injuries, so he was trying to see if it could bring the dogs back the same way it restored him. But not even a couple of seconds in, and his wound started to heal on its own. Furious, he bit his finger once more to draw out more blood to give to the dog. But Haiji grabbed his hand, telling him to stop because he was just hurting himself by doing this. Holding back his tears, he reminded the girl that all of them lost their lives because of him, and he was sure they hated him for it. Haiji told him to stop speaking like that because none of them ever hated him. If they had, they would never have sacrificed themselves for him. She explained all of them were dogs who were wary of people, but he was one of the very few people they liked, so much so that they even laid down their lives to protect him. She asked our boy if he never noticed those scars on their bodies. They were from the abuse they suffered all their lives, which was why they kept their distance from most humans because of all those bad memories. Our hero had no idea about any of that. He used to think all of them were just gentle by nature. Haiji told our boy that if he kept blaming himself for what happened, it was going to break their hearts, saying that the fact they approached him without any hesitation from the start proves they knew all along he was in a similar situation as all of them. Those words helped calm his mind a little, so he thanked the girl. Just then, they heard faint whimpering of something from the back. Turning around, they saw a puppy sitting there behind them. And this here, folks, is Potato's child, meaning Potato was a girl. This child lost its mother, and for some reason the pup, ignoring our beautiful Haiji, started walking up to our hero. Seeing it wagging its tail like that, Haiji told our boy it looks like he has taken a liking to him. Leaning in closer, our boy asked the little one if he didn't hate him, after all his mother and all his friends died because of him. To which the ball of cuteness started licking his hand as if saying he did not. Watching both of them, Haiji fell into thought. After all, now that pup had no one to look after it, she was sure it wouldn't be able to survive out here on its own. On top of that, after everything that happened today, she also knew she couldn't let our boy wander around on his own either, because there was a chance those people might come after him again, which they definitely will, because he didn't finish the job in that factory. Not sure of what to do, she started running to the distance, telling our boy to stay there because she needed to call her sister about something important. Our boy watched as the girl told her sister she handled everything as she instructed and asked what she should do from here. Cut a couple of minutes, and 3 of them were seen making their way down the street. Alright folks, here's the setup. She ended up inviting our Chad to live with her for the time being. Entering the place, our hero stopped for a second, unsure of what to do. He reminded the girl of his situation and asked if she really thinks it's okay to let someone like him live in her place. The right answer was no. But the stupid girl reminded the kid he risked his own life to save her, so this was the least she could do, completely forgetting about the part he was the reason she was in danger in the first place. But that wasn't the only reason. The main reason she was letting him crash at her place was because her sister wanted to meet him as well. And when he asked why, Haiji answered that her sister was working on a case that seemed to be connected to the institute that was after him, so she wanted to question him about it. As she was inviting him in, our boy noticed something in the place, and it was a mirror. Seeing the thing, he paused for a second. Next panel, and he scared the soul out of the poor girl by letting out a sudden scream after seeing his reflection. Before she could ask what he was screaming about, the guy, all giggly, asked the girl if she could also see his face right now. Surprised, she asked what he was on about, to which the kid answered his face was back to normal. He explained that his face never fully regenerated since he was a kid, because in that institute his regeneration wasn't this fast, and even if he ever tried regenerating his face, those people used it as another chance to experiment on him. So this was the first time he had ever truly seen his own face. The girl wasn't sure if she should feel sorry for the guy or she should be happy, but in the end she decided to drop that entirely, because there was something even more important she was curious about. And when asked what, she told our hero that now that he is fully healed, no matter how she looks at him, he doesn't look that old, and asked how old he really was. Okay, so all this time, because of his appearance, she thought he was some middle-aged hobo. Our boy himself wasn't sure about his age, so he started doing the math. He was taken into that institute when he was only 7. There, he went through something called the year-end comprehensive test 7 times, and after he escaped, he spent 3 years on the run. So if he counted all that, that would make him 17. For some reason, that shocked the girl so much that she ended up spitting out the water she was drinking. Running to our boy, she told him she was also 17, meaning both of them were the same age, clearly hinting at something. But still, she was angry that he never corrected her before this day. Our blushing idiot answered he was just happy about the fact that someone was talking to him like he was actually a person, so he didn't want to ruin that. Seeing him make that face, Haiji fell into thought, because it was kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time she couldn't help but think it was a little cute. Deciding to take it slow, she suggested since they were the same age, both of them drop the formalities from now on and call each other by name. After which she asked him to go wash up because it was almost dinner time. Fast forward and little pup was seen munching on some food Haiji prepared for him. Man, waifu really loves him, doesn't she? I mean, the guy clearly put on some weight after eating all the dishes our girl kept making for him. If that's not love, I don't know what is. But still, despite him praising her cooking so much, the girl herself wasn't so confident. Still, she was grateful he complimented her. Changing topics, she told our hero that her sister won't be coming back home tonight because she got called for some important work, so tonight it would just be the two of them. Fast forward, and she was pointing to the couch, telling our boy that would be his bed for tonight and asked if he would be fine sleeping on that thing. Our boy, who spent most of his life sleeping on the hard ground, thanked the girl for letting him use such a luxurious couch. After that part was taken care of, she ran to her room since she still needed to do her homework and asked our boy to get some sleep since it had been a long day for him. Placing his butt on the couch, he commented on how insanely comfortable the thing was. While he was enjoying the soft feeling against his butt cheeks, he suddenly heard little pup whimpering for some reason. Seeing the state he was in, the kid panicked and rushed to check up on it, but before he could, he heard the little one letting out a little burp. Yeah, his greedy ass just ate a little too much, he was fine. Cut to a couple of moments later, and both of them were on the couch, with the little one jumping all around our boy, who was soaking in the cozy feeling of lying on something soft. Turning to the pup, he wondered what he should name it. After all, they can't just keep calling him Puppy forever. And since he was the son of Potato, our boy had a perfect name in mind, and that was Fries. The scene cuts elsewhere and a bunch of individuals were seen running from something. In that same group was our boy, who was trying to escape from a bunch of guards who were trying to stop them. One of the men shouted for everyone not to let those mutants escape, because every one of them is either rank A or higher. With that, a loud explosion shook that part of the building, resulting in all those mutants getting pinned under massive debris. Thinking they managed to immobilize them, one of the guards brought out his gun. And no, this wasn't for threatening these individuals to follow them, but to torch them into ashes while they were still buried under the rubble. But then, as he stopped, he spotted something that terrified him. One of the female mutants had managed to stop all that fire using her ice powers, and using the chance, she shouted for the rest to snap out of it and run. Just then, our boy saw another friend of his with plant-like abilities, who was lifting the massive rock off of him so they could escape. The one with ice magic shouted for both of them to stop wasting time and take her hand because they were almost at the exit. Our boy did as instructed and started running with the female to escape this hell. And thanks to all their struggles, they all barely managed to escape from the facility. Back into the present, our boy, lying on that cozy couch, was wondering how the rest of them were doing since he never saw them after they got separated at the very end. And there was a chance all of them could still be out there somewhere, still on the run from the Institute, just as he was. Recalling that time, our boy promised himself that no matter what happens this time, he won't let anything be taken from him, no matter how small it seems. And if anyone ever tries to lay a hand on something precious to him, he won't let them get away. Cut to the next day, and screams of a person were heard echoing through the whole neighborhood, and that someone was our boy, who was running around in desperation. And the reason was, after that epic speech last night about protecting everyone, he ended up losing Fries. Cut a couple of minutes earlier, when Haiji was getting ready to head to school, she instructed our boy to watch the place while she was gone, saying her sister was going to come home in the evening, so he better be on his best behavior around her. After she was done speaking, she prepared to head out, waving our boy goodbye. But just as she was about to open the door, she spotted Fries scratching against it for some reason. Our boy had no idea what had gotten into him, but the girl was pretty sure the little one was just bored and wanted to go outside. The problem was she needed to go to school, so she couldn't take him out right now. Our boy offered to take him for a walk, but our girl wasn't on board with that idea. After all, there was a chance he might run into those people again, but our boy assured the girl not to worry. After all, he's in this handsome form, so no one should be able to recognize him now. He did have a point there, so Haiji fell into thought, and in the end, she allowed both of them to take a walk outside on the condition he used that leash on the dog. Before leaving, she gave him the code to the door and instructed him to be back before her sister gets home. Cut a couple of minutes, and both of them were standing outside the building, with Fries throwing a tantrum because of the thing wrapped around his neck. Our boy reminded the little one of what Haiji had instructed both of them, but the pup wasn't listening and kept rolling around, demanding that our boy take that thing off him. Seeing him squealing, our boy didn't know what he was supposed to do because in the past he also used to have something like that attached to him, and man, that's just brutal. Not sure what this experiment was about, but his body was attached with some kind of sensor that detected even the slightest of movements, and if he so much as twitched, a powerful electric current would surge through him, burning his whole body to a crisp. On the other hand, he also knew what might happen if he took that thing off the pup. He was going to end up attacking someone for no reason. Yeah, no. Just as he turned to apologize, he saw that the brat was already gone. Cut back to the present, and he was seen running around looking for pup, but it was no use. As for the little one himself, yeah, he was having the time of his life somewhere out there. Meanwhile, our boy was desperately running to find the rascal. He tried in the trash cans, nothing there. Under the cars, same thing. Even more trash cans, but no matter how much he looked, there was no sign of fries anywhere. In the end, he dropped to the ground, unsure of what to do, as horrifying thoughts started to swirl in his mind. Like, what if Truck Kun managed to get to him and he got isekai'd to some other world? Or worse, if he ran into some thugs who used him for their entertainment. Totally defeated, he slumped to the ground and started crying, because he promised Fries he was going to protect him no matter what, but he failed in just one day. Just then, he heard some noises to the side and spotted some people playing football/soccer nearby. And what do you know, the little troublemaker was also there, casually scratching his ear without a single care in the world. I don't think this panel was necessary. Well, anyway, the moment our boy spotted Fries, he bolted towards the building to catch him. All that noise attracted the attention of what seemed to be the school's sports instructor. He tried stopping the kid, but before he could even finish his words, our hero was already gone. Cut to the inside, and everyone was enjoying their time without a single care in the world. As for our hero, he was watching everything from behind one of the trees, wondering if this is what they call school, because to him, it looked fun. Just then, he sensed something to the side, and when turning around, he spotted a bunch of nerds discussing some conspiracy theory about the heart mutants, and according to them, they all come from secret labs. On the screen was a documentary about heart mutants and the reward for reporting them if someone manages to spot one, which was 1 billion won. Hearing their words, our boy knew he needed to grab Fries and escape before someone spotted him. Turning around, he spotted the little one happily making his way through the whole place. The scene cuts, and we are shown a bunch of mid-looking girls shaking their assets in a video for all the degenerates of the world, providing them with the necessary material they require to release their frustrations on their phone screens. Cut to the girls themselves watching that video on the phone. As for the loyal lackeys, they were busy hyping up their friend in the middle for being so gorgeous and whatever, saying all that cheesy stuff to inflate her ego. And obviously, that boosted her ego through the roof, and I have no idea what they are talking about. This girl is hardly a 7 on a good day, and without all that makeup, probably a 5. Just then, they heard the excited barking of a puppy behind them, so they turned to see what it was. Man, maybe I was wrong about them. They don't seem like mean girls. I mean, look at them fawning over our little Fries. The leader of the squad suggested they take a video with the ball of cuteness and upload it on her story. All of them agreed, but then while doing so, they spotted something terrifying in the frame, and that scared the soul out of the poor girls as they mistook the guy for a stalker. Our boy quickly apologized to the 3 for scaring them like that, and making the most innocent expression he could manage, he told the girls that dog belonged to him. Oh man, our boy is a real lady killer, because the girls immediately fell for his innocent charm. But the problem was neither of them had seen him before in their school, so they figured he must be a new transfer student. As for our boy, he apologized again to the girls for ruining their video, but they didn't seem to mind. Instead, they offered him to film another one with them. Our boy refused for obvious reasons, but the girls insisted, and from the looks of it, they weren't planning on taking no for an answer. That was when the leader of the squad held out her phone to our hero, asking for his Insta, and her excuse was that she wanted to tag him in the video. That obviously surprised her friends because they'd never seen her ask a guy for his Insta before. But with a face like that, they couldn't blame her. But our airhead, on the other hand, had no clue what this Insta even was, so he had no idea how he was supposed to respond to that. The girl herself was smirking because she was confident he won't say no to her. Yeah, I know. When our hero answered, the 3 of them were left in shock as he casually told them he didn't have an Insta. That obviously hit a nerve, because this was the first time she had ever reached out to a guy, but she got rejected, and she ended up taking it out on poor Fries, who had nothing to do with any of this. Our boy quickly apologized to the girl, saying he appreciates it, but he'll just be taking the thought. Yeah, it was official now. That kid definitely rejected their friend with that lame excuse. Meanwhile, the girl listening to both their whispers was having a really hard time controlling her anger, but not like she could do anything about it. So in the end, she decided to just drop the topic altogether. Our boy, still clueless about what he just did, took Fries from her arms, thanked her, and prepared to head out. Scene cuts to a new character, and man, the artist has a way of expressing anger in the ugliest way possible. The dude straight up looks like he needs to pass gas. Turns out this brute had a thing for the girl who just got rejected by our boy. He was furious because that girl never paid him any attention. And now, seeing another kid trying to rizz her up using a puppy, he wasn't too happy about it. So in his anger, he handed his friend the ball, telling him to throw the thing towards him when he gives the signal. His friends, knowing what the guy was planning on doing, tried stopping him, but the brute refused to listen. And using all his power, he kicked the ball, and it went flying straight at our boy's face. Oh damn. I thought he was going to pull off some Matrix move to dodge, but no, that thing landed squarely on his face. Worried, the girl turned to see if the kid was fine and saw blood dripping down his nose. As for the bastard himself, he came running to apologize, making it seem like this was an accident. But instead of apologizing to our boy, the fool was saying sorry to the girl, who didn't seem happy because he almost nailed her on the face. Just then, he heard our boy's voice, so he turned around and saw his furious face, demanding he apologized because he almost hit his puppy with that ball. The ugly bastard, instead of apologizing, started laughing his ass off, seeing blood dripping from his nose. But then he remembered the girl his ugly ass could never score was also there, so he turned on his nice guy act and started apologizing to our boy, offering to take him to the nurse's office. Our boy answered there was no need and asked him to be more careful next time, which didn't sit well with the fool because it made him look like a clown in front of the ladies. But on the outside, he told our boy he will keep that in mind. With that, our hero started walking away, but the fool wasn't done with him. He wanted to make an example out of our boy, so he ordered his goons to find out which class that kid was in. Cut to our hero, who was almost out of the school gates and was thinking how this was a fun experience because he got to meet so many new people his age. He wondered if he would be able to make lots of friends if he enrolled there and became a student just like Haijai. Just as he was thinking that, he heard a voice from the back asking him to stop. Looking back, he saw that same fool from earlier who came to apologize properly. Confused, our hero asked what he meant by that because he clearly apologized earlier. Well, turns out that apology wasn't enough, so he wanted to treat our boy to some delicious bread. Yeah, say no more, our boy was immediately on board with that idea and was practically drooling just thinking about all the tasty treats he would get to eat. Man, this kid has zero survival instincts. With that, he was seen walking out of the school with our boy while making small talk. Eventually, they arrived in a shady alleyway, and just as they were alone, a foot came flying at our hero and landed square on his back, sending him flying in. Yeah, no, our hero finally realized what this was about, so he turned to look at the men and saw a whole bunch of thugs who were just waiting for him. Next chapter, and he was surrounded from all sides as the fool tried to get under his skin. But no matter how much he taunted him, he wasn't able to get a reaction out of our hero. Seeing him trying so hard, our hero asked the reason for doing this and heard the fool screaming that he tried hitting on his girl using that dog. He warned our hero he was going to punch his lights out if he didn't drop that fake tough guy act. His buddies also chimed in, telling the man not to go too hard on the kid because he looks like he could snap in two with just one punch. Realizing this guy was just trying to pick a fight with him, our hero was disappointed because he thought he made a new friend. And since he wasn't interested in him or his girl, he just apologized for making him uncomfortable and started walking away. But the goons refused to let him leave without giving him a proper beating. By then, even our hero was reaching his limit because these fools were scaring his little puppy, so he warned the man to step out of his way. Instead of listening, the fool swung his hand to slap our hero for acting high and mighty, but to everyone's shock, they saw him flying through the air, followed by a fountain of red liquid spraying out of his nose. Seeing their friend out cold on the floor, all of them froze, because that was the last thing they expected to see from this scrawny little kid. Especially the red-haired fool, whose jaw was hanging because he wasn't able to believe what he just saw. Next panel, and all of them were seen running at our hero to teach him a lesson. Seeing them coming, our hero activated his heart and boom, like a flash, he smashed his way through all the incoming goons using nothing but his foot. And in that very same split second, he zoomed straight at the main fool who brought him to that place, and the last thing that kid saw was his whole life flashing before his eyes. And with that, boom, a loud bang echoed through the place. Yeah, he definitely soiled himself there because that fist was inches away from punching a hole in his skull. Lucky for him, our boy was feeling generous, so he decided to spare his life this once and warned the fool not to scream because he was scaring fries. By then, the rest of the fools were already running out of the place, calling our hero a freak. And that only left the red-haired man who was still having a hard time believing this kid just punched such a massive dent on that wall using nothing but his fist. And he was sure that if he got hit by even one of those punches, something was definitely going to break. So in the end, he took the most obvious route, and that was to drop to the ground and beg our boy to spare him, promising he won't do something like this ever again. He even brought out his phone, showing him a picture of his own dog, saying he was also a dog lover, hoping that would save his skin. Well, what do you know, that actually worked. Seeing that picture, our hero decided to spare him. But then both sides froze for a second when such a serious moment was interrupted by our boy's stomach grumbling. Turns out he hadn't eaten anything since this morning, so he prepared to head back home. As for the redhead, he completely misunderstood the situation. He figured the kid was just pretending to be so forgiving, but in reality he was extorting money from him by acting like he was hungry. Cut to the school, where our beautiful Haiji was seen struggling to focus on her studies, completely unaware of the mess our boy was causing just outside her classroom. Meanwhile, our boy was in the school's cafeteria, staring at all the treats Redhead bought for him. Seeing him act like it was his first time seeing something like this, Redhead couldn't help but wonder what was up with this kid. On top of that, he was insanely strong but acted like he was some dork, which was really irritating him because to him it felt like this kid was mocking him. And clearly, since he still hadn't learned his lesson, he decided to call someone to deal with the boy once and for all. It was some fat pig by the name of Brother Young Chul. 20 years old, but bro looked like he was pushing 40. He showed surprise that the redhead called him because he was starting to think he forgot about them. Ignoring the small talk, the fool told him the whole story, how he got his ass handed to him by some punk and now he needed his help in dealing with the kid. Obviously, the fat pig didn't appreciate being treated like some low-level bodyguard who he can call anytime he wants after getting beaten up. But Redhead begged the man, saying this kid was really good with his fists and managed to beat all his friends single-handedly, and promised this was going to be the last time he asked him for a favor. Just then, Fat Man's friend from the back asked what was going on, so he told him how a junior named Targu got his ass handed to him by some punk and was now begging them for help. The man told the guy to accept the request and tell the kid he was going to swing by later since he was getting bored anyway. Although the fat guy wasn't happy about it, he decided to do as he was being told and instructed Redhead to keep that kid near their school area. Man, look at that grin on his face. He is definitely going to end up folded along with that fat pig. Just then, as he was smirking, he saw our boy walking up to him with a bag of chips in hand. And when he asked what he was doing, our hero told the fool he was feeling bad eating alone, so he brought some for him as well. Acting all friendly, the guy agreed, even throwing in some more snacks to keep the kid occupied until his backup arrives. But still, despite everything, he couldn't help but wonder how someone so scrawny could possess the strength to shatter a wall. As that was running through his head, he noticed something strange. It was our boy's hand, which he definitely saw bleeding after he punched that wall, but now was good as new, with not even a single scar left behind. That's when he finally started to piece together all the puzzles. He's got crazy strength, enough to launch a grown man in the air, paired with super regeneration of his injuries. Yeah, he didn't even bother giving it a second thought and asked our hero if he was a heart mutant. Like a complete moron, our boy blurted out he is not. Yeah, that confirmed it for Redhead. This kid is definitely a heart mutant. And if that was the case, then it changed everything, because there was a real chance this kid was strong enough to beat the guys he was calling for backup. And if that happens, it would mean he will end up on a stretcher along with everyone else as well. Next panel, and the fat pig was heard screaming, hearing what Redhead had to say about that boy. And now that things had gotten serious, he turned to his men, ordering all of them to get ready because they were heading out immediately. But Redhead, clearly not understanding how valuable that kid behind him was, whispered to the fat pig to drop this idea about roughing him up, because it was clearly dangerous to go after someone like that. But the fat man refused, telling the kid their plan isn't changing. They were going to give that punk a proper beating and instructed him to make sure he didn't run away. As he was doing that, our hero got up, telling the man he was full, so he would be heading back home now. This was bad for the guy, so he suggested our boy stick around for a while longer, offering to buy him some more treats. But it was already getting late, so our hero thanked him for the offer and got ready to head back home. Redhead knew he needed to come up with something fast if he wanted to keep this kid here. So after thinking for a bit, he told the kid he was bored with school today anyway, and offered to take him someplace fun instead. Cut to the arcade where our boy was running around like a kid in a candy store, because this was his first time seeing a place like this. That comment surprised the redhead, and he asked if that really was true. Our blushing fool answered yes, commenting that before this day he didn't even know a place like this existed. Redhead fell silent hearing those words, but before he could ask him anything, our boy ran to a claw machine after spotting those plushies inside that looked just like the keychain on Haiji's bag. Seeing him sparkling like that, he couldn't help but wonder what this guy had been doing his whole life. And since it was clear he didn't know how to use the machine, he decided to teach him. In the end, he got so annoyed that he ended up taking the controller in his own hand to grab one of those dolls for the kid. With that, bam, one purple plushie plopped into the prize chute of the claw machine for our boy. And you know what? The guy was starting to feel like a big bro seeing the kid smile like that. And since they still had time, he suggested they head to the karaoke place, but again our hero had no clue what that was. Redhead explained that this is a small room where people can show off their singing skills or just have fun with their friends, and asked our boy to name a song so they could get started. Cut a few moments and a kid's song was playing in the room with our boy using all his lung capacity to belt out the lyrics. That annoyed the guy so much that he ended up calling him out for acting like some innocent kid who didn't know anything. Surprised, our boy asked what he meant by that, assuring the man this really was the only song he knows of. He told the redhead his whole story, how before he was separated from his family at age 7, his mother taught him that song, but after that he never got to live a normal life, so he never learned any other songs. Those words hit the redhead like a truck, and he couldn't even process what this kid meant by being separated from his family at age 7 and never getting to live a normal life. And if what this kid was saying was really true, then that would explain why he keeps acting so innocent around everyone. And guess what? This mountain of muscles is actually a complete softie on the inside, because the guy straight up started crying, realizing how hard the kid's life had been. But keeping up his tough guy act, he asked our boy to follow him because he was going to show him a whole new world and make sure he lived an extraordinary life from today on. Cut a couple of minutes and both of them were smashing drums with everything they had, after which they were spotted playing Street Fighter, which our boy obviously sucked at. Then came the turn for the dance machine, and once again our boy was terrible with his moves, so he ended up dropping straight onto his butt instead. All in all, both of them were having the time of their lives. Fast forward once more, and both of them were seen walking out of the store. Our boy thanked the guy for bringing him to this place because this was the first time in his life he had this much fun. In the middle of their conversation, Redhead heard his phone ringing. Turns out he was having so much fun that he completely forgot about that fat man and his goons. And that fat guy wasn't happy because they had been waiting for him to bring them that boy for hours now, but he didn't even bother answering his calls. Ending the call, he turned towards the picture in his hand of both of them, and he fell silent, unsure of what to do anymore. Cut to another part of the city, and Redhead was seen standing in an alleyway surrounded by a bunch of thugs. And turns out, in the end, he decided not to sell out our boy and was apologizing to the men for wasting their time, saying that boy wasn't a heart mutant after all. The response from the men was pretty obvious. None of them were happy about any of this. That was when he spotted a fist flying at his face, and bam, that fat pig decked the kid right on his nose. And this wasn't because of frustration or the fact that he wasted their time, but because that fat man wasn't as gullible as he thought. And that story about that boy not being a mutant, yeah, he didn't buy that one bit. So he told the kid to tell them exactly where he was hiding that mutant. Otherwise, he won't be walking out of this place with his life. Since Redhead refused to open his mouth, Fatman told him to look around because he knows exactly what will happen to him if they didn't get an answer soon. Terrified, the Redhead begged the guy to believe him, saying he spent the entire day with that kid and didn't notice anything strange about him. He told the guy that the kid was nothing but a dork who wasn't even able to keep up with him on the games. He ended up out of breath in like 2 minutes and collapsed. Hearing his words, Fatman fell silent because he didn't know what he was supposed to do now. He asked the kid if he was sure that kid wasn't a mutant and just a normal human. Redhead answered yes. Putting his arm on his shoulder, Fatman apologized, asking if he was angry about him yelling and hitting him earlier. Before Redhead could come up with an answer, Fatman pointed out that the truth was written all over his face, so there was no use lying to him. Using a manipulative tactic, he told the kid he was interested in his reason why he suddenly changed his story. He reminded the kid that the thing they were dealing with wasn't human, and with how dangerous the world had become because of mutants, they needed to stick together to wipe out those freaks. He told Redhead he knows he was just worried about all of them, and assured the kid they were more than capable of taking care of a mutant freak on their own. Hearing everything, Redhead tried saying something, but before he could, he saw a hand in front of his eyes. And no, it wasn't a slap. Fatman was offering to pay him $500 for providing them with the right info, saying he already has a broker ready who handles heart mutants, so he wouldn't need to worry about anything. Redhead froze for a second at that offer, and it wasn't because he was interested, but because this man was talking about human trafficking. He was sure he heard something like this on the internet not too long ago, but back then he didn't believe it. However, now hearing it straight from this man and realizing the kind of disgusting business they were running made his blood run cold. But hiding his fear, he told the man there was nothing he could do because that kid really was just a normal person. Next panel, bam, a powerful kick landed square on the kid's stomach, causing him to crash into a nearby dumpster. But the fat man wasn't done. He immediately ran after the kid and started stomping the hell out of him while screaming he'd tell him where he was hiding that mutant freak. The kid still refused to talk, so he shouted for his men to beat him until he spills everything. The men followed his orders and began pummeling the poor guy as he desperately tried to shield his vital organs. The story cuts a couple of years back, and we see a young redhead in the same situation being beaten by some other punks from his school. That was when a voice came, telling the ones responsible to stop, and when he looked up, he saw the same fat man with his goons who came to save him. Seeing their ugly mugs, the three kids immediately bolted from the place while apologizing to the men. Turning to our redhead, Fatman asked him to look up, and with a smiling face, he reminded the kid that they were both from the same gym, so that makes him his older brother, which was why he can't be walking around getting beaten by punks like those. Back in the present, Redhead was recalling that time and thinking how back then he used to think of this guy as a cool older brother, never imagining he'd be involved in something as twisted as human trafficking. As for the fools, they were exhausted after the beating they gave to our boy, and since he refused to talk even after all that, one of them pointed out if this kid might actually be telling the truth. But Fatman thought otherwise because he knew this kid since he was just a child and could spot his lies with a single glance. He told the kid he can respect the fact that he was loyal and didn't open his mouth even after that beating, but he also reminded the kid when your life is on the line, loyalty doesn't mean shit. He explained to the kid that even if he was planning to sell that mutant himself, the best offer he'd get would be $300 at most, so he might as well work with him instead and get a better deal. Yeah, no, the kid still refused, so Fatman signaled one of his goons to hand him the chain. He told the kid if he wants to live big and make real money, he would need to take risks. And giving him one final chance, he offered him to join his big bro, promising both of them will live the life of luxury together. Despite the man literally threatening to turn him into a vegetable, the kid still refused to sell out his friend. On top of that, he unknowingly ended up cursing the fat man. By the time he processed the words that came out of his mouth, it was already too late. Seeing him making that face, Redhead knew he was done, so he started screaming, apologizing to the guy for disrespecting him. But no matter how much he screamed, the fat man wasn't listening. He swung his fist at our hero to end him, but just as the punch was about to connect, a hand appeared, stopping the man. And we already know who it is. Yup, it's our boy, fashionably late, finally deciding to show up after the men had already beaten the redhead to a pulp. But the men had no clue who this kid was or why he was standing up for this punk. Crouching next to the redhead, he told the kid he got bored of waiting because he was taking so long, so he came to check up on him. Taego, however, didn't care about the reason and told him to run. He apologized to our boy, admitting he was the one who called these people after him, even confessing to leaking his secret to them about being a heart mutant. To that, our hero had only one question: why? Redhead answered, saying he was just jealous of him and also upset about him beating him and all his friends, so he wanted to get back at him. But he also admitted he changed his mind after spending time with him and apologized for everything. Turns out our hero didn't care about any of that, nor the fact that he told these people he was a heart mutant. The reason he asked why was because he wanted to know why he was letting these people hit him. Just then, bam, a fool appeared and swung his baseball bat right at the back of our boy's head. His friends joined in, and all of them started bombarding our boy with non-stop attacks to break him. Watching the sight, Taegu didn't know what he was supposed to do, because he wasn't strong enough to stop these people. And just like that, our hero stopped moving, resulting in those bastards dropping their guard. Little did they know the real fun was just about to begin, because our boy's body was already absorbing Taegu's blood. By the time the fool noticed something was up, our boy had already delivered a fist right under his chin. This sudden display of strength from this scrawny little kid shocked everyone. As for the guy, he dropped several meters into the distance, causing the rest of them to freeze in horror. Yeah, after seeing what this kid just did to their friend, none of them had the guts to approach him anymore. But the fat one didn't care and shouted for all of them to take the boy out. On his command, all of them boxed in our boy and started charging into attack from all sides. Man, I thought our boy was about to pull off some cool slow-motion action hero move, but no, he didn't even move. Well, at least he had a plan. So using the chance, he sent another one of the goons flying through the air. Then 3 more got hit almost simultaneously, causing all of them to lose consciousness. Another fist landed on the 5th goon, and the 6th guy also ended up eating dirt. While doing so, the one with the stupid mask spotted an opening and managed to land a hit on our boy's head. But no, our boy just planted his foot on the ground and fired back with his own punch on the man's side, shattering his ribcage. By then, all the goons were so terrified that they refused to attack him any further. But the fat pig still hadn't learned his lesson, so he charged in with a knife in hand to end our boy. And what do you know, he even succeeded. For heaven's sake, this kid survived literal hell, and this guy thinks a small piece of metal was enough to stop him. Seeing no expression from our boy, the fool was so furious that he started driving that thing in there non-stop. But by then, our boy had enough, so he casually grabbed the blade of the thing. Surprised, the fat man looked up to see what was going on and noticed the kid standing there, not even reacting, and was casually telling him to stop doing that. The fat man, finally realizing how screwed he was, staggered to his feet and asked what kind of heart allows someone to get stabbed and walk it off like nothing happened. Looking at the blade, our boy told the man he didn't need to know the answer to that question and drove that thing straight into his leg. Seeing his blood, the rest of the goons also realized they were dead if they didn't run, so all of them bolted from the place. Yeah, no, turns out none of them were getting out of this place after what they did to Taegu. Fast forward a couple of minutes, and Pup was seen happily barking at someone, and that someone was all those goons who were completely broken after the beating they took from our boy's hands. Just then, our hero heard a voice calling his name. Turning around, he saw that it was Taegu, who seemed to be worried about his injuries and was getting ready to call 911. Our boy assured the kid he was fine, so there was no need to do that. Seeing that his wounds had completely healed up, Taegu wasn't able to believe his eyes. But then again, he was a heart mutant, so it did make sense, so he didn't press for answers. Instead, he apologized to our boy for everything he had to go through because of him. To our boy's surprise, the kid started punching his own head for being so stupid all this time and thinking these people were his friends. And in the middle of that, our boy heard the kid saying he even tried to sell his own friend to these bastards. Calming himself, he apologized to our hero once again, explaining he used to hang out with these guys in the past. Back then, he thought they were just tough, cool men, but looking at it now, he realized he was just another thug, no different from the rest of them. Looking up, he saw our boy handing him something, and when he asked what he was doing, our boy pointed out he has a nosebleed, so he should wipe it using this. Taking the thing, Taegu asked if he was really giving this to wipe his blood. And no, it wasn't because he was being grateful, but because this thing was a puppy pee pad and probably one that has already been used several times. But fearing that the kid might start hitting him again, he got up and started to wipe his face using that dirty thing. Watching the man sulking, our boy reminded him of what he said earlier, that he sold his own friend to these men, meaning he wasn't the only one who thought of them as friends. And honestly, that was enough for him. Hearing those words, the fool got emotional again, and unable to hold back his tears, he hugged our boy and started crying like a child. And not just crying, the fool started squeezing our boy like a stress ball, crushing him with the sheer weight of his emotional breakdown. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave the video a thumbs up, and if you want to know what happens next, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.